Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Come and go.
Having them tell you that, you're ADHD and that you've got level 1 autism, was a revelation, really, I suppose.
How was that for you?
It was a relief. This isn't for me. This is for if there's anyone out there who's younger, you can succeed and you are valued and you do have skills. You're just a bit different.
You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens the door on men's mental health. And back again is none other than musician, academic, Keith Mullin. Keith, welcome to The Hurt Locker.
Hello, Yinka. Thank you very much, and it's good to be back, mate. Yeah.
I was just looking back at all the episodes, and you were episode 21.
How long's it been going now?
So just over a year.
Just over a year, okay.
So you were one of our newbies then, really. Which was...
I was in early doors then, yeah.
Indeed. I don't think there's much improvement on my side, but anyway... Practice makes perfect, did they say?
Yeah, I just remember I talked for ages.
Well, it's your space.
It's
your space. So, gosh.
Yeah.
How are things with you?
All right, just been it's been a busy year since the last seen you, a lot of things have happened, so in terms of work-wise and just my professional life and stuff like that, we kind of finished that album we were doing. And last time I was talking to you, we were still in the process of doing it last time I spoke to you. And that's now complete, finished, and we've signed a deal with Modern Sky, and there's probably going to be 2 albums out there. And we're in the processes of releasing new material again. So we had a single out yesterday, and we had did a pop-up gig, as they're now deemed, in the Jack last night, which was just an acoustic thing.
You were in the Jack. Nice. I was just past there as well. I was on Slater Street as well.
Yeah.
Just having a couple of meetings and that. But
it kind of really suited me and suited us, because it was like you go on at 7:00 and you finish within you only do 5 songs. It's acoustic, and you see, you can be home and getting ready for bed by 8:30, you know what I mean? Kind of sort of, I was happy with that. Why the lads one or 2 pieces deep with a couple of pints, but I don't drink, do I? So I just got off, and but no, it was really good. It was packed, and they done they give the tickets away for these things, but if you can call it a sellout, it was kind of no tickets left basically, and they went really
brilliant. I was gonna ask you. You still the farm still makes itself relevant to X amount of years. How's that possible?
I don't know if we make ourselves relevant. I just think it's about...
Well, you were sold out.
Yeah, true, yeah. Kind of. I just think it's about being true to yourself, being authentic, I suppose, if that's a word you can kind of associate with us. I mean, I do think we're just still who we are, and in terms of identity and people from when we first began the band. And I think it's a case of that, as a group of people, we still enjoy each other's company, and we kind of like the gigging, and we enjoy the music. I mean, the road to writing this new album that's out in June has been an interesting one. It's been a bit of stop and start, and it's been a bit of, should we continue, or are these songs any good? Is anyone going to listen? All of those type of questions that you go through, and those processes that you go through. But we've been getting affirmation that what we were doing is worthy, I suppose, or worth listening to from the people around us and stuff. So I think coming back to the question as well, as I just think it's about still having an interest in music, still loving what you're doing. We have an agent and a manager and all that now. We've always had one of them, but, we've had periods in our career where we haven't. But you've got that, I suppose, that thing. So we're always getting off of gigs, so we, even when in our off cycle or some down times, I suppose, periods when we're not really doing anything, we always have at least 15 to 16 to 20 gigs a year, you know, at festivals and various events. So we're always getting offered that type of stuff. And I think it's down to initially because we wrote a couple of songs or a few songs that still resonate with people. And I think I'd like to think we're a decent band live. You know, I think, you know, when we play live, we always seem to go down well, and we enjoy it. So I think as long as people want to ask us to perform live, we always will do, providing we're capable. And they're getting back into writing again as with Peter and Steve in the band. You know, has been really interesting because there's no pressure there for us to write for, you know, to script or write to please a label or write for everyone. We're just kind of writing because we enjoy the music that we're making, and I think that comes across in this new album because there's some surprises on it, and the response we've had to the tracks has been great. You know, we put another single out yesterday, which is out there at the moment and getting a great response to it. So
what's it called?
It's called Moments in Time.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you there because one of the questions I was going to ask you was, does your writing reflect your evolution as a man? Life experiences, etc. Because it's not poppy. It's not poppy pop, jingly jangly.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good question that I never really thought of it like that. I suppose, yeah. I mean, your music and the things that you write grow with you, or you grow with it, and the things that come out really are the things that you've a version of what you've absorbed. You know, it all starts somewhere, and I suppose the way we've been writing, and you know, we've discussed it amongst ourselves. You know, I think every time you write a new album, you have to find a new way to do it, or you know, continue an existing way that's working. But I think with the writing of this album, we've kind of we've just drawn upon things and bits of music and things and that we've liked in our lives. You know, we're kind of influenced. We're listening to new music now, and so you're kind of influenced like that. But also, there's a lot of stuff that we've drawn upon from our musical knowledge and our history. You know, that are in these songs, and also that we're not afraid to try things out. You know, and so I think there's a certain thing that in relationship to that comes with age. I mean, because we have sat there and listened to some things, and maybe years ago we might have gone, oh, we can't really do that because people think this here, whereas at the moment we're just not asked. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, we're going to write what we want, and if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it, you know?
Absolutely. Can I ask, and I know you aren't breadheads and that, so when you've constantly got those offers of 15, 20 gigs to perform and that, are there some that you say, nah, we're not going to touch that with the barge pole, or yeah, we'd love to be on that gig and all that? Basically what I'm saying, what stops you from becoming the Bruce Willis of the music industry and just attend any gig that's available?
I think because we've all got our lives outside of the band, we've all been able to find that balance. Also as well, you know, there was a period in the Farm's career, you know, very in the 90s where it kind of all halts and it comes to an end, and we never really split the band up. We just kind of went our separate ways for a while, and did our own things individually, and then we got asked to get back together by the Happy Mondays and the people that when they were getting back together to go and do a gig with them in the in London, basically, when they kind of got back together. So since then, we just kind of we had our own lives that we kind of built. I'd gotten into, you know, I'd done all kinds of different things, you know. But also at that particular stage, I'd begun to work for LIPA, you know. So I was doing kind of that type of thing, you know, developing the academic side of what I do.
Yeah.
And Roy was into films. Carl's a documentary writer. Steve was writing, you know, dance music for people. So Peter's like a book writer, and so we all have got our own careers outside the band. So what stops us, I suppose, from doing it or being completely reliant upon that as a source of income? or being completely reliant upon that for who you are.
Yes.
We don't have that problem really, because we've all got our lives that are outside of the band that would be deemed quite normal, I suppose, than what the people perceive a band to be. So I think we're very fortunate in that respect. And by the way, everyone in the band has succeeded in another thing outside of the band.
That's not easy for all band members, for that, because typically what I've observed is that one half of a band can be quite successful with their additional secondary interests, special interests and all that, while another band member might not have any special interest in that. But all of you, right across the board, you've all got that go-to place as well, or I can't commit to this with the band because I've got this going on and all that. And that's a balancing thing as well, I'm wondering, does one beget the other? i.e. your academic field, your work in there, does that help sustain and nourish that when you go inside the studio, you think, yes, I can park the academic stuff because I want to focus on this. I feel invigorated to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That really does help, because it's an outlet. It's a different outlet, and you're getting to kind of in some way kind of go get practice in what you're really good at. But also with me, I mean, because I work at LIPA, which is Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, and it's that institute is about practice. It's a practice-led, I suppose, institute. For me to be able to go and do what I do there, it's expected that I practice and do like this. So there's a good marriage there, that with what I do within the band and what I do from an academic perspective. So, and I think we all have that in some respects. There's the one does feed the other. And it is a bit of a balancing act. You know what I mean? And trying to work out your year. I mean, I'll spend most of the year teaching, and it's most of the summer, gigging, or I'll be, I was in work all day yesterday, and then I went gigging last night, and then I've been working from home today, and I'm doing this interview, and as soon as I finish the interview, I'm going out on my daily 10-mile bike ride,
Brilliant. 10 miles, you're good, lads. Yeah, you're very good. No, just thinking about 10 miles is too much, is exhausting for me. Tell me about academia now, because I think there's been changes for you since you were last on the Hurt Locker.
Yeah, I'm now the head of management at LIPA, so I've kind of gone up to, I'm in a managerial role, so I work in there running the department, and I've a real good team of staff that I work with who are lovely people. And
press pause. Poacher turn gamekeeper. How does that?
That's one way of looking at it. Yeah. I suppose that's what. You know what? I think it's just a different approach, really. It's really, and I think it doesn't kind of. I think academia, I suppose, and teaching and what we do is not necessarily like being a manager working in frauds or working in. I mean, it's a different specialism. It's a different, the whole purpose of the institute is there for different reasons. I mean, they are there to kind of enhance the knowledge and of society and people in general. That's kind of, it's there to benefit society in general. So being a manager in that type of environment is really interesting and challenging. You're there working with kids, teaching young people about, specific subject matter, and planning that and becoming involved in that and being there, taking, young people through a particular journey that's going to ultimately have a significant impact on their lives is a great thing to do. And being able to manage and be in a managerial role and help shape that is a real challenge, So it's in terms of the question then, like poacher turn gamekeeper, I wouldn't see it as that. I would kind of see that I was operating in a managerial role with what I was doing in it anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's just now more responsibility.
So if you go back to our first talk and we spoke about the difficulties for you in school growing up, and now you interacted with the teachers there.
Yeah.
Given what you've experienced, how does it lend itself now in that managerial role when you're working and you're shaping? You're laughing now.
Yeah,
I mean,
after
is
that.
there a 10-mile Mullin sitting in front of you that you're having to mould and shape, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for me, you know, and it's really challenging. But I have to plan a lot, you know, and I've had to learn strategies and coping mechanisms, I suppose, that allow me to deal with the day-to-day a lot easier and a lot better, you know, and sometimes that works very well, sometimes it doesn't, you know.
You know what? It's funny because, you know, it's usually a throwaway statement, but every day is a school day. And you're adapting and changing and learning constantly. How was that for you?
Well, you know, it's something I've had to do all my life.
Yeah.
You know, so that adapting and changing and being almost chameleon-like, I suppose, you know, is something I've had to do all my life. But I'm very, very good with having an overview of things and attention to detail. I'm just not very, very good with detail with myself, or remembering where I need to be, or going in and out the house and I'm thinking I've locked the door and having to come back because I'm getting really anxiety about that the door's left open. So I'm just, and I have a routine. You know, my life is routines. I get up in the morning. My routine is like, you know, kind of a get up at one, and it's like I know exactly how long it's going to take me to get up from get to bed, to get into the shower, to get downstairs, to I've gotten dressed, to put the kettle on, to you know, having that cup of coffee, to put my bag on and put the thing, put my gloves on and out the door, walk the train station, on the train, up the hill. It's like my mind has it all kind of worked out, so it's become automated, a lot of it, you know. So what was the question again? I kind of forgot.
No, but that was important. Me just listening to you, because routine is important for you.
Oh, God, absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah,
and I'm wondering as well, given the fact that you're in that managerial role now, do you reflect and do you think about that 10, 11-year-old Keith Mullin in school and think to yourself now, basically put two fingers up to the teachers back then, or some of the teachers back then, and say, I've arrived?
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily blame the teachers. You know, I blame, and I kind of got to look at it really, you know, because of the difficulties I've had with, you know, we discussed it last time, you know, with that. I've got to kind of look at it with, you know, that's what it was. And I'm very, very lucky to have gotten to where I've got to because of some of the decisions and choices that I've made. And some of them, you know, were as a consequence of other things that I've done, you know. I mean, I probably would never have been asked into LIPA to go and do what I did if I hadn't been in the band, you know, and it done on the time and worked kind of well. But I excelled when I was there doing what I was doing, you know. So it's just, I don't necessarily kind of sit there and kind of view it like that. I mean, because I've had a diagnosis this year, you know, with the...
Yeah, we'll come on to that.
I kind of do look back and think I wish I'd known, you know, but you know what I mean? And you kind of don't, you just don't know what it is, or you think, is there something wrong with me, you know what I mean? That type of thing, you know, I've definitely, you know, thought all those things in the past, you know what I mean? But, so I don't necessarily kind of blame anyone, I think you kind of have to let that go. You've got to let that go and kind of move on. I mean, I suppose part of my character anyway is and you know, the thing is it's out, once it's out of sight with me, it's out of mind, and I probably go for most things in life. You know, I can forget things in a second, but then hold on to stuff for days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very stressing about things. It's very, very very strange, you know.
How's your family taken to this new string to your bow?
Taken to what, sorry?
this new string to your bow in terms of this managerial role?
They've been very supportive. My wife's been very supportive. So my mum passed away last, so I kind of just wish she'd been there to see that, but she wasn't, so. But, my sister and everyone in my family have been, like, really supportive, and my wife's been, because I'm not easy to live with, you know what I mean, at the best of times.
Why not?
Because I just, I just get stressed out a lot, I suppose. Especially if I'm moved out of the routine, I get, like, uptight about things, But I've always gotten like that, but I didn't know it was called something. I just thought it was me.
Absolutely. And moving on to your, it was Tim that let me know in terms about your managerial role, but equally about your diagnosis. Tell me a bit about that. How was that for you?
It was lengthy. It kind of went. These things aren't established or arrived at easily. You've got a lot of stuff to go through and a lot of stuff to process. You have to go to various, interviews, I suppose they are, like where, they're going through. You provide a lot of evidence and go right back in terms of provide all these school reports. And so the process itself was very involved and took quite some time, and there's been, quite a few assessments gone on. And to be honest with you, halfway through most of it, I just thought I really can't be bothered with this.
Well, I was going to ask you that.
I really can't be asked with it. I'm just like, I'm all right. I'm getting on with things. Why do I need to be putting myself through all this? I mind, when I just think I can't be asked, I'm just going to go and do this. I've had enough. I'm off now. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll get myself into that state. But I just thought, well, no, you've come this far, and like, there's people around you, saying that you need to. And so I kind of stuck it out. And even during one of the last kind of assessments, I was just thinking, I'm just going to leave it. I just can't be bothered with this. But, finding, I suppose, having them tell you that, you're ADHD and that you've got, and then I did another session where, got level 1 autism, was a revelation, really, I suppose. It's just good to kind of understand that's why I twitch. That's why my eye's doing that now. It does it all the time when I'm in stressful situations. And this isn't necessarily a stressful situation, but I'm probably getting a bit stressed talking about things. You know what I mean? So it just explains that. Because I've been to doctors loads of times in my life saying I've got this twitch and I don't know what it is. And never, and partly that's what it is, because it happens a lot when I'm in, situations where I don't know a lot of people or I'm just a bit nervous and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's just nothing's really major's really changed with me. I'm just like, because I've already got a lot of all of the mechanisms, I suppose, or that's what they told me. You've got a lot of that stuff already in place, and you could to have got this far, you know what I mean? So it's just good to know, really. And I kind of, you know what? It was a relief because it just explained a lot to me, and I thought, okay, that's why I'll behave like that. You know what I mean? I am the way I am. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. Adult ADHD, Tim just put in the chat, does a label or hearing that, has it confirmed, has it helped you at all? And we've had previous guests saying it has helped as opposed to others.
It helped. To be honest with you, I felt two things. One, it was a relief and kind of helped. And then the next thing, I felt embarrassed.
Why embarrassed?
Because it's like I'm going to have to go and tell a load of people that know me about this. And like, it's just that weird feeling that you get. You just kind of feel, oh, I'm a little, it's just that thing. It's going to have to go and tell everyone. And then I thought, well, I don't have to tell anyone. You know what I mean? So I'll just carry on as I am. And it's just that. You just kind of, I come from that generation, really, we're growing up where it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing because no one knew anything about it. And you just hid it.
You just mask, yeah.
That's the way I'm so used to doing that. You know what I mean? And I didn't really want to start, put my hand up going, oh, there's me, I'm that as well. I don't like that type of attention anyway, do you know what I mean? But I did, and so it's taken me some time to even tell people in work, do you know what I mean, and the people around me, immediate family, but I don't want to be one of those people that is always having to talk about it, do you know what I mean, and it's fine that people do, because that's what works for them, but I didn't want to be that person either, you know what I mean, I just like to get on with my life, you know, so yeah, but I don't mind coming into a situation like this and talking purely simply because this isn't for me. This is for if there's anyone out there who's younger, who's from the type of background that I've been through, or I'm from, I suppose, that you can achieve, and it's 100%. Okay. That's 100%. That's the only reason I thought, because I've got students that are in similar positions, you know, and
100%.
And I just wanted to say, you know, it's okay. You can end up here. Do you know what I mean? You can succeed, and you are valued, and you do have skills. You're just a bit different. Do you know what I mean?
And that neurodivergency, it's important for it to. I think personally, it's important. I'm learning all the time, and so it's important for it to be out there for people to talk about it, for people to feel as if they're not on the margins, and that they have got things to contribute, same as anybody else. You know, and I suppose when you received your diagnosis, there was an element of relief, but also a sense of loss, a sense of grieving as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that was it was definitely thinking about, you know, that kid who all those years ago, you know, he's been asked to read up in front of the class and getting smacked because of it, you know what I mean? You remember things like that, they kind of stick with you. You know what I mean? And that's why you'd end up hiding stuff. But it's that type of thing that, you know, you kind of look back and think, wish you'd known. But really, the opinion on where I am now, I wouldn't really have it any other way, you know?
I know, and it's funny because you're so, as I'm listening to you talking, you are so gracious and generous in terms of your response. And you are, seriously, Keith, I'm not messing about here. You know, because I know there's many a person who'd be embittered about the past, you know, and that's the only thing that would be driving them, as it were, and hate and anger, it's a destructive force. It eats you from within.
It is. It's addictive as well, and it's easy to kind of fall into that. But you can't, because if you kind of fall into that and become that person, you carry it with you, and the only person that's normally hurting is you.
100%.
You can't. I'm not that guy. I'm not that person. I don't want to carry all that with me, you know.
Does work, okay, I know you've got your own strategies and all that, but since the diagnosis, is there adjustments in the way that you work and all that as a result? And when working with your students, are you able to perhaps identify, spot signs, and maybe make suggestions?
I try to. I don't. What I try not to do is kind of predetermine. I'll wait for people to speak to me. You know, if there are any issues. But if students need help, we're there for them, and we have student support that can help them with all that. But I suppose, I'm a bit more. I suppose you could say you're empathetic, really, to the situation, because of you know, you kind of understand and know what certain aspects of it could feel like. But working great with me, you know. I mean, I went in and told a couple of people in there, you know, they just said, "Oh yeah, are you surprised?" And you're surprised. It wasn't. But yeah, we kind of figured that. It's like, you know, so that's kind of, you know, that was the approach for most in there. But, you know, and you know, someone else, you said, you can understand it with all the multiple things that you do, the multiple projects that you've got on the go all the time.
Yeah.
You
special interest projects, yes.
Yeah, special interest things that are non-stop.
Can I ask, you know, there was a point you were saying a couple of times when you were going through the assessment process about, you know, I can't be arsed, but I've got to see it through. And I'm wondering, was one of the reasons that you saw it all the way through because of your children?
Yeah, because of the people around me, because of the kids, because of the people around me. I mean, my daughters, ADHD as well, you know what I mean? And she's, so I've got it, it's in the family. Do you know what I mean? And so yeah, because of that. But also, I thought, well, I've done this, I need to see it through, And, I'd have been fine if it had gone the other way, but, I suppose. But I don't, it's just, I scored very, very highly. It's probably, I'm that test. Probably one of the only tests I ever did score really, really highly on. I failed. Yeah.
So, tell me, you're going to be gigging. The summer's nearly, summer's nearly upon us and that. You're going to be gigging. Where are you going to be travelling off to?
Well, we're playing in Carlisle, in the fire station in Carlisle, our own gig there, which is in May, and we've got gigs in Scotland and all the corners of England at the moment.
Okay.
The UK, so we're doing real. But the next thing we're doing is the narrative. We've been asked to play a fantastic little kind of songwriter in the round type acoustic thing that goes on in the art club on Hope Street.
I know. Yeah.
Rihanna Forrester runs it. Who's a LIPA graduate. Actually, she's used to be on in the music course there, and she runs a fantastic event. And so I know Rihanna, and she knew we had a record coming out, and she just said, "Look, would you like to just come and do the narrative and do that songwriter type thing in the round that they do there? Which is talking about the songs and all that." So we said, absolutely, we'd love to. So that's the next thing, which is great because it's another opportunity to do an acoustic gig, and I quite like doing acoustic gigs. So we're going to do that. That should be fun.
Have you done many of them before? That's an interesting concept,
Yeah, it's a great little event, and she runs it really, really well. She runs a great event, and it does really, it gets a lot of attention. It's like a music industry networking event as well. So we're looking forward to that. So that's in I can't remember the date exactly. I think it's May the 6th, I think, something like that.
And what about further afield? Will you be gigging abroad?
I don't think we got anything abroad this year. We'd love to. I mean, we'd love to because we did really well in places like Germany and Holland and Italy and Spain. We were number one in Spain quite a lot. For long periods of time. But we'd love to be able to go do some more stuff abroad. But it was difficult anyway about 5-6 years ago, but then Brexit happened and made it even harder for everyone,
Yeah.
It just made it really hard for people to go and do that touring abroad. It's so expensive.
Yes,
it just killed it, for a lot of, not just like people like us, but a lot of bands, Not that we were doing a lot of gigs abroad, we weren't, but it's kind of just made that thing a little bit more difficult, Do
you think the new government, but they've been in for over a year and that, or for nearly a year, do you think they'll reverse all of that with regard to Brexit, with regard to touring companies, with regard to musicians?
It doesn't look like it, does it, really, to be, I would like to think that they'd rejoin the what's his name?
The EU, etc.
And the kind of, the open, the what's his name, market. I kind of like the free trade market thing. I kind of think, they could rejoin that, or even rejoin the EU. I kind of like being part of the EU.
Absolutely.
I kind of like that, but I'd like to think they would do something or reverse some elements of it, But I don't know, because it doesn't look like it at the moment.
I know. We might see another inquiry that goes nowhere again,
Yeah. It's kind of obvious that, there's a lot of issues that are going on at the moment in the country. And it's the unspoken thing, isn't it? The Brexit thing. It's like it is the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Massively.
The economy's been struggling like hell ever since. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. It's like, I kind of like to think that, some sense would, I suppose you could call it that, would become part of that process, and maybe they'd look at rejoining or something,
Incrementally. Well, yeah, there's two things here. What's the impact in terms of international students coming to LIPA in of itself, but also on that further on down the line, what's the impact on the creative industries per se?
I think the major impact upon that, I suppose the creative industries is that it's been trade. The trade just isn't simple anymore. It's a really complex thing. There's probably there's been and that concept and idea of people touring abroad I think that's the major impact upon especially the music industry. It just costs so much money now, and there's a lot more paperwork that they have to engage in and administration, which was the whole point of it, was to get rid of all that and us to be. 100%. It's the opposite effect.
100%. And in terms of, are you still receiving? Is LIPA still receiving a lot of international students?
Yeah. It's always it's a pretty good place really for students from abroad. They still get a lot of students from all over the world.
Okay. We're nearly finished here, but I was going to go back to something you mentioned in terms of your music and authenticity. And there's been 2 TV programs, I'm digressing slightly, but there's been 2 TV programs that have resonated with regards when I've been out on my travels and that, with in terms of Liverpool. One is Adolescence. Have you seen that one with Stephen Graham?
I've not watched it yet. I believe it's amazing, but I've been kind of waiting for that moment where I can think, I'm just going to binge this, or I'm just going to.
And it is a binge, 4 episodes binge.
I'm terrible for having to wait for stuff, or you know what I mean. It has to be the right moment. So
yeah,
I believe it's amazing. it's got some amazing write-ups, and I know a few people that know Stephen and stuff, and they've said to me that it's fantastic. But and all the reviews are great. So I've not watched it yet, but I'd like to.
So the other one is This City Is Ours. Have you seen that one? Yeah.
I've not seen that one yet, no, but I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Is that the gangster one?
Yeah. It was just about that authenticity, and what it meant. And I think, for me, a question, what do you think for the future of Liverpool? What are your hopes? What are your aspirations for Liverpool?
As a
personally,
city?
Yeah, personally, professionally, as your home.
I just hope that we can kind of we do that. I do that walking tours with Nasher and Peter, and kind of one of the reasons that it was Peter that wrote the walking tour and stuff like that. One of the reasons he wrote it is because our culture and our history in a lot is kind of being erased. In the pursuit of progress, and no one's anti-progress or anything like that, or anti-modernization, or of kind of developing the city, but you kind of always, our experience of that is a lot of people live to regret, filling in places or knocking places down or stuff because of the historical significance. Matthew Street in the Cavern being a prime example of that. They filled it in the 70s, and it's a car park, and then they kind of realised, what have we done? We probably killed, probably buried one of the most iconic clubs in the world that has ever existed. They've kind of rebuilt it and created the Cavern as what it is now, So it's my hope is that, there would be some form of kind of, those people kind of in charge, I suppose, would kind of look to maintain the cultural heritage of the city. They do that really well with the Beatles Legacy Group and the Liverpool Music Board, and they're on the Liverpool Music Board as well. And it's renowned all over the UK. The people that run that have done a fantastic job with it. So my hope would be that type of thing would be maintained, and the heritage and the culture and the thing that makes us special, I suppose, which is all of these cultural these things, and that the identity of the city is maintained. I suppose you can only hope for that, and the only other thing I suppose as well. There's a lot of kind of, Liverpool's a different city when you go into the city centre.
Yes,
it's an amazing place, but some of the outlying areas, like Croxteth,
Garston,
all these Norris Green, they're in dire need of investments, or they're dire need of something. And, I'd just like to see that, make sure that I'd like, the future for me would be to, they're the places that now need looking at. I was talking to Annalise Mitchell about a week or so ago. She's the MP for Knowsley, and she was just talking about because I live in Knowsley, and she was talking about her hopes are for what she wants to do in Knowsley, and she just struck me as a person who cares, who's in a position where can do something that really gives a shit, and that really is just concerned about the constituents and doing right by a ward, and by Knowsley itself, So, so more people like that, and making sure that the changes that are afoot in Liverpool and the modernisation and the progress and the city as it looks now is amazing. Is spread around a bit.
Okay, so on that point, then I was involved in regeneration from '95 onwards, and we were fortunate to receive an Objective 1. Whilst Liverpool 1 is a great place for tourists and all of that, I feel that there was an imbalance between the investments in bricks and mortar as opposed to people and education.
Yeah.
And those areas that we've mentioned, the Norris Greens, the Speaks, the Garston, the Netherlands, etc., missed out on that a lot.
They did.
And I'd like to think that maybe perhaps in the future, if we're lucky enough, if the city's lucky enough, that we can start to focus and put the spotlight on those areas of most need.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and I'd like to see the fans supporting food banks, people not have to collect food at football matches.
100%.
I go and stand at the van every I'm an Everton fan, as you know, but every home game I'm there with them, standing there, because it's great conversation. It's great conversation chatting to them, and there's always lovely people there, and it kind of, they're doing that for waiting for a government to come in and put them out of business. I want to see, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that the right to food is important. They don't want to be a charity. They're not a charity. No. Because the charity, if they become a charity, I think they'd see it as a defeat.
Yes.
They'd see that as a defeat.
And that would absolve governments and leaders of their duties and responsibilities.
Absolutely. So that's what they don't want to do. So I'd like to see them not have to do it, even though it would impact upon my every other Saturday afternoon where I don't have them conversations. We'd find something else to do.
Of course.
But something I'd like to see. I'd like to see that as well.
Keith Mullin, thank you for being a guest on the Hurt Locker.
Cheers, Yinka. It's always lovely speaking to you, mate, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And that's a wrap.
Absolutely.
The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.